It was this impromptu gathering outside the now famous Madiba restaurant that became a meeting point for the like-minded, as lanterns were sent into the night sky in memory of a fallen icon. South Africans and Americans alike sharing the sad moment.
I was actually in South Africa in June when he was quite sick and thought he might actually die when I was there, and it's just a profound loss for the world. You know, there's nobody quite like him. He's I think somebody said he's a transformative figure, and I think those of us in Brooklyn, who is a very diverse community, profoundly feel his loss. I think many of us do across the world.
I was at home and I got a text, and then my friend called me and my sister called me, and it was shocking. You know, we knew it was going to happen. However, I think you're just never prepared when it actually does.
So many South Africans ask me how Americans feel about Nelson Mandela. Maybe you can give us an idea.
He was our Madiba as well. Nelson meant everything to us, particularly for our generation. You know, a lot of us coalesced around the anti-apartheid movement, and a lot of our growing up was around supporting Nelson Mandela and supporting the people of South Africa in their fight and their struggle. So he's like a papa to us as well.
Sibongile Buthelezi is from Soweto. What was your reaction when you heard?
Before I heard that he passed away, I was just thinking about him, thinking, am I being selfish of him to stay? Is it, I mean, he has done his part. Why do I want him to stay, you know? But then everybody's holding on to his legacy and then not realize that his legacy will live with us forever. And I think about an hour after that, I had the news. But he lived his life. We have to let him go. You know, my thinking is, I wonder what kind of a conversation he's having with God right now, because the man left so much legacy. Probably he's now in a very different state of mind, looking back and being proud of himself, and we are all very proud of him.
Well, I don't think there's any question that Nelson Mandela today is probably breathing a lot easier.
He is definitely at peace, not in pain.
Tsepo Lekalake grew up in Klerksdorp.
I guess the freedom of being, you know, within everything that happened in South Africa, and all he did to inspire the rest of the world. I think it's, you can't explain it.
Pinky Masemola is from Diepkloof, Soweto.
And I saw the president came on, and just when he confirmed it, you cry, you know, there's nothing that you can do. And it is the worst thing about being away from home is that you are in another country and you feel these emotions that you don't know how to share, because you know as South Africans, we have our own culture. There's things that we do when we mourn, when we grieve. You know, we get together immediately. I wanted to get out. I wanted to be with other South Africans.
Earlier, a moment of silence in the UN Security Council, while the Secretary General of the UN was among the first officials to react.
Nelson Mandela showed what is possible for our world, and within each one of us, if we believe, dream and work together for justice and humanity. His moral force was decisive in dismantling the system of apartheid. Remarkably, he emerged from 27 years of detention without rancor, determined to build a new South Africa based on dialogue and reconciliation. I was privileged to meet Nelson Mandela in February 2009. When I thanked him for his life's work, he insisted the credit belonged to others. I will never forget his selflessness and deep sense of shared purpose. On behalf of the United Nations, I extend my deepest condolences to Nelson Mandela's family, the people of South Africa, and indeed our global family.
President Barack Obama paid tribute from the White House.
I am one of the countless millions who drew inspiration from Nelson Mandela's life. My very first political action, the first thing I ever did that involved an issue or a policy or politics, was a protest against apartheid. I would study his words and his writings. The day he was released from prison gave me a sense of what human beings can do when they're guided by their hopes and not by their fears. And like so many around the globe, I cannot fully imagine my own life without the example that Nelson Mandela set. And so long as I live, I will do what I can to learn from him.
South Africa's former deputy president.
Even though it was expected, when I saw the news, it really was painful. And I was sitting, chairing a meeting with ambassadors and ministers when someone from my office brought the message. And that was the end of the meeting, because everybody just needed a moment and people needed to go back to their embassies as well.
Former President and close Madiba friend Bill Clinton tweeted this picture of the two of them together, saying he'll never forget his friend. His wife, the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, called Nelson Mandela a champion of justice and human dignity, with unmatched grace, a truly unconquerable soul. From the prepared statements we had earlier today from the likes of President Barack Obama and the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to the impromptu outpouring of support you see from individuals on the street here tonight, expect reaction to the death of this icon to continue across these United States in the days and weeks ahead. Shervin Briceby, SABC News, Brooklyn, New York.